Rare earth, though not nearly as rare as the name implies, are notoriously hard to process. Canadian technology company Ucore Rare Metals, trading on the TSXV Venture Exchange with the symbol UCU, has developed a technology that could be setting new standards in this respect. Today, GOLDINVEST is talking to Ucore CEO Pat Ryan to get the details and hear about a deal with German commodities trader ThyssenKrupp Materials Trading, which the company just announced. If you would like to catch more CEO interviews like this, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel at the bottom of the screen. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, Björn. How are you doing?
Pat, to start us off, please give us a short summary of what Ucore is about, a mission statement, so to speak.
Yeah, certainly. 21st century energy transition is upon us right now. CO2 going into the atmosphere and fossil fuels that are used throughout the world are creating a lot of damaging environmental situations. There's a transition to electrification of vehicles. There's a transition to renewable resources such as wind energy, offshore wind in particular. And all of those particular technologies, these transition technologies, they run on critical metals. And critical metals in particular, rare earth critical metals, are needed ex-China to make it work for the rest of the world. That market is pretty tightly held by China currently. So our national security, our protect what the rest of the world needs to do outside of China is really the mission of Ucore. It's to develop a supply chain, be part of developing a supply chain that certainly involves rare earth elements, and it involves ESG initiatives and the ability to create an energy transition here in the 21st century. We want to be a first mover in that market, and the opportunity is now.
Okay, well, certainly a very interesting market there, and one that has been getting a lot of attention lately. You already touched a bit about it on the uses and the importance of rare earth, but could you give us a bit more details about what the market is, what the volume and the expected development in the market is?
Yeah, certainly. Rare earths are a set of 17 elements on the periodic table, but there really are only 4 of them that are what we call the critical rare earth materials that are used for producing rare earth permanent magnets. And the rare earth permanent magnets are the things that make the electric motors and electric vehicles work. They also make the wind turbines turn and do what they need to do. The properties of rare earth metals are such that they hold a magnetic force at very high temperatures. So they've got physical properties that are far beyond anything that you can find for this type of application. As a result of that, the rare earth permanent magnet, which has a synchronous motion that allows you to make batteries go further in electric vehicles because of that synchronous speed of the magnet creates. You have a $3 billion rare earth oxide market. And those oxides are used to make those magnets that make the motors turn. And that $3 billion market in 2021 is projected to be $15 billion by the end of the decade, by 2030. So that's quite a growth. And along with that, you'll have the growth of the metals and alloys that are used and the permanent magnets that are growing as well. So it's a huge opportunity, certainly, and with a good founded cause. It's about national security. It's about protecting our current jobs that are throughout Europe and North America and the internal combustion engine market. As we transition to EVs, if we can't get those materials available outside of China, then we've got a problem. So it's a huge growth. It's a 5-fold growth, and very significant to Ucore and to the rest of the ex-China world, automotive, energy transition, everything.
Okay, well, yes, that's certainly true. Tell us a bit about the Ucore Rapid SX technology then. As I said, it's in the processing and in the separation of rare earth where it gets a bit, well, not problematic, but it's not as easy as with other metals, perhaps. What are the advantages of your technology compared to conventional rare earth processing or separation?
Yeah, certainly. So, in the supply chain, you start with a rare earth concentrate. And that concentrate's turned into a chemical concentrate, which has a very high percentage of rare earth in it. Then you've got to separate out those rare earth elements. The only process used in the world today to make that happen, for that extraction and purification, is called solvent extraction. And it's used extensively in China. It's not very environmentally friendly. They break a lot of the rules that you would probably have outside of China, that you can't operate a system that way. So we, in May of 2020, we acquired a company called Innovation Metals Corp. They've been developing a very similar technology to solvent extraction, but it's known as Rapid SX. And the reason it's called Rapid SX, it uses the same chemistry that you have in solvent extraction. Again, the only process used in the world today to extract and purify rare earths. But instead of using a series of mixers and settlers that are football fields in size to allow this equilibrium to happen, you have a series of proprietary columns. You have a proprietary contactor in a column with media that's, again, protected by intellectual property. And then you have a phase separator. So the column tech, using same chemicals, but a very different physical interaction, causes you to get to equilibrium that much quicker. And the importance of that is that the separation of the rare earth elements happens at equilibrium. So if you can get to equilibrium 3 times, 4 times, 5 times faster, now all of a sudden the size of your plant is reduced proportionally. So rather than the size of a football field, you're looking at something that's maybe 30% the size of a football field. And that's important because the working capital of an operation and the throughput of an operation is very significant to being competitive. If you can increase your throughput, not have a lot of working inventory in progress, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars. In a solvent extraction plant, you might have $40, $50 million tied up in a month because of the way the process works. If you can do it that much quicker, then your operating time allows you to get more throughput. It cuts your working capital down, improves your OPEX. And so it's a very good way to make this happen outside of China. Smaller footprint, very competitive OPEX, less chemicals, less reagents, less extractants, which makes it more environmentally friendly, more green, if you will. And at the end of the day, just a much smarter way to make this happen outside of China. So that's the technology we're focused on.
Right. And I guess the Alaska or the Strategic Metals Complex, or ASMC, is then where that's supposed to happen, or where you start off. What are your plans and timelines in that regard?
Yeah, the Alaska Strategic Metals Complex, or SMC as we call it, is located in Southeast Alaska. We currently have land picked out for the particular facility. We've got an area sort of carved away. The opportunity, you would say, why Southeast Alaska? And the reason is that Ucore has a project known as the WKN Dotson Ridge project. It's the highest grade of heavy rare earth outside of, in North America. It's the heaviest grade of heavy rare earth. And long term, the opportunity is to open the mine up. There's been a lot of development work done. There's a $145 million bond that's been put forward by the state of Alaska to open the mine up eventually. They, of course, want the jobs and they want to be part of national security. But the first step is the processing plant. So the processing plant, you have to have feedstock, alternate U.S. allied feedstock, so you can bring into that plant. So build the best-in-class plant, do it in staged growth. So we're starting with a 2,000 ton per annum. We're growing it to 5,000 ton per annum. Maybe we'll start at 2,500 ton per annum. But that's the first phase of your entire project. So that works with finding partners around the globe that can bring you that chemical concentrate or the rare earth just raw concentrate that you can then process and run through your facility. And the market is so huge, Bern, that the Alaska SMC is the first of what will have to be several in North America. Yeah. And with a much more attractive CapEx, then you can build those strategic metals complexes outside of China. You can look at partnering and have one built in Europe. You can build a couple in North America. You can build one in Alaska for the long-term benefit of the Dotson Ridge project. You can build one on the Gulf Coast if you want for various reasons, chemicals included. They're quite ample and good price in that area. So that's the project. The timing is 2024 to be in the market. The engineering is going on right now. A company in New England here in North America called MECChem is working on the engineering that goes pre and post Rapid SX. Our development team in Kingston, Ontario is working on the engineering for the Rapid SX separation and purification side of it. So all of it's coming together quite nicely, and it's a first mover position. There's no one that's doing what we're doing. We're quite unique in our opportunity that exists right now.
Well, certainly a good position to be in. And the news you published just yesterday certainly ties in with what you've been saying, that you struck a deal or trying to strike a long-term deal with the German trading house ThyssenKrupp Materials Trading. They are supposed to be another source of feedstock for the SMC, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the only way this plan can work is if you have feedstock. And the one that will win the race is the one that can get the feedstock. So we've been discussing with ThyssenKrupp for quite some time now, probably a year or more. We've been reviewing our plans, and ThyssenKrupp Trading, you know, they've got a lot of tentacles, a lot of arms out all over the globe to try to find these rare earth materials that are, again, quite an opportunity right now as we transition to the 21st century energy here. And they've located several sources. They've wrapped up deals that allow us to then reach into ThyssenKrupp and say, hey, how do we get some of that material? How do we strike a deal with you to allow us to process that material and build that supply chain? So you've got the upstream, we've got the midstream, and of course downstream are the customers like your automotive companies, your people like General Electric that are making wind turbines, and all sorts of other people that need rare earth materials. So the deal with ThyssenKrupp is very strategic. It's very important. It's actually our second such deal in that, and it's an MOU at this stage. We'll work out the fine details the months ahead. Vital Metals is another company here in North America. They have a rare earth concentrate. They're building a hydromet plant to turn it into chemical concentrate. We have a similar deal with them. So now we have two arrangements that allow us to feed into this facility. If you don't get the feedstock, then you don't have a plant that's going to work. And that's what we've been working on. So ThyssenKrupp is very strategic. They are a global presence, and they're working closely with us to make this happen.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah, and as you said, then longer term, you have the project in hand that might then be another source of feedstock for your Alaskan operations. Okay, very interesting. So to sum up, just give us your opinion on why Ucore might make a good investment for investors interested in this space and willing to take the associated risk right now.
Yeah, sure. Anyone that you know, tracks prices of critical metals that are used in the EV transition in particular, you know, you look at lithium prices that are used in lithium-ion batteries. You look at the cobalt that goes with those lithium-ion batteries, and if you look at rare earth is actually, the prices are just starting to take off. Things like terbium, dysprosium, which are heavy rare earths, I mean, they are up over 100% just this year. The light rare earths, neodymium, praseodymium, they too have had a very escalating trail. It's all about supply and demand. You know, China controls 90% of rare earth permanent magnet production. They control 85% of rare earth oxides in the world. And that's why the supply-demand imbalance is there. So, you know, right now, the opportunity is currently here for first mover opportunity to look at a company that's got the right technology, the right feedstock, and the right downstream customers to make something happen. My background is the automotive industry, and the big players that are in the EV field outside of China that are looking to make things happen, players like Volkswagen in Europe that have a very big presence and big plans with their roadmap E going forward, General Motors in North America, Toyota Motor Sales, you know, they're looking to have a global presence of EVs as well. It's about $240 per vehicle, electric vehicle, battery electric vehicle, $240 in rare earth elements. So when you look at that, you go, okay, currently in the world, there are about 90 million new vehicles made. By the end of the decade, there'll be about 32 million new electric vehicles in the world. Out of those 90 million produced, you multiply that by $240 per vehicle. At today's current price, it will escalate somewhat beyond where we are currently. You've got a $7.7 billion market. And that's just for electric vehicles. Then you look at wind energy transition, you look at all the other needs, not including, also including defense, things like cell phones that you have, hard drives, all of it dependent on rare earth. So I mean, the opportunities right now to look at Ucore, what we're doing, no one else is doing what we're doing. We're taking a smart approach to production. And we feel it's a great opportunity to jump in now, today, while the market is just bubbling and hot and going in the right direction.
Okay, well, certainly a good closing statement, I would say. Thank you very much for taking the time, and best of luck with all your plans. I'm sure we'll talk again and see how it all went. Thank you very much.